Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight, and for those of you tuning in at home. This is our regular meeting of the Talawanda City School District Board of Education for Thursday, November 21st, 2024. The board has been in executive session and are returning, and it is recommended that the board exit the executive session and return to the regular board meeting. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? Mr. Felsky, please call the vote.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes. Approval of the agenda. It is recommended that the board approve the agenda as amended. Is that correct? Were there some changes to it?
There were some changes to it. We changed the word presented to amended. We added Shauna's 5-year forecast presentation. We changed the name of the turf presentation and work session minutes to MOTS. October 17 minutes, items 24-197, added the word of, approval of Cartwheel agreement, added the epinephrine second reading policy for approval, changed the wordage on 7E, took out the words secretaries and EAs, and added effective date 1/1/25. And then we had a supplemental change of Mr. Arnie, who should have been at step 3.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
We
Second.
didn't. I'm sorry. Who was the first?
Matt.
Thank you.
Any discussion or other questions? Mr. Felsky, please call the vote.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sounded good.
You're welcome.
Butler Technology and Career Development School Liaison Report. Mr. Mead.
Okay, thank you very much. Butler Tech has completed its expansion of the welding lab and had a ribbon cutting. In 2017, we had 56 students enrolled in welding, and now we have 108. So we're continuing to expand programs to meet student needs and the needs of our business community. We've also launched an accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing program in conjunction with Miami University, where high school students can start on that program early. And then at our last board meeting, which was Tuesday night, we gave Mr. John Graff a 2-year contract to be a special advisor for 120 days a year, which means he is stepping down as our superintendent. So Mr. Graff is stepping down as superintendent, and we are opening up a search for a new superintendent. And that's my report for the night.
Thank you. Student Achievement Academic Liaison Report. Mrs. King.
Okay, I'll start with the high school. The THS family is wrapping up their cross-curricular student voice initiative. Teachers of varying grade levels and content area connected with students with a wide range of projects, many of which were highlighted on our social media outlets. Be sure to check those out. Students performed Alice in Wonderland earlier this month. It was well performed and well attended. Thank you to all of the THS community members who showed up to support our students. Our Veterans Day breakfast and celebration was once again the largest on record. Mrs. Gregory and her students took amazing care of our veterans who were so appreciative of the opportunity to be part of the THS family on the 11th. One of the highlights is the opportunity to have the entire student body in attendance and the chance for the veterans and our students to interact at the conclusion of the ceremony, which many choose to do each year. And I actually attended that. It was amazing. Thank you so much, Mrs. Gregory. And even though she's retiring, she promises to come back and help put it on every year. So congratulations to graduates Maya Keene, Evan Messner, and Galanio Fioretti, who were recognized as Blue Chip Community Media Award recipients, and their advisor, Mr. Zimmerman. Science teacher Heidi Schran was in the international news as she spoke at the International Astronomical Union Symposium this month. She also connected her physics students with scientists from the European Council for Nuclear Research. Lastly, more amazing news from the #1 high school in Butler County. Our student growth data is in, and students achieved a year's worth of growth in all 6 test areas, with 3 of 6 showing the highest possible growth. Principal Davey will share more about this in his February update. Moving on to the middle school. TMS has received grants to support their technology exploration class. Dr. Thurer said that while she is very proud of the work that Mary Rupert has been doing to apply and receive grants that increase the educational opportunities for our middle school students, we recently received notification of $2,500 that is going for a 3D printer and materials. The total for 2024 thus far is just over $15,000. It has been very enjoyable to see the students programming and flying drones, along with many other activities offered in our technology exploration class and after-school coding and technology clubs. On to Kramer. We had our 3rd Friday meeting and shared what each building grade level is doing with their DI time with the new Bookworms curriculum. We were able to share, ask questions, and learn from each other. Mrs. Gregg and Mrs. Slager were able to attend, take notes, and listen. We had a cereal box drive for the Oxford Food Pantry. We were able to donate the cereal to the pantry. Our kindergarten students created their Thanksgiving turkeys and displayed their turkeys in the hallways and display case. We had our 4th grade music performance. It was well attended, and Mrs. Kelly and the 4th grade students did a great job. On to the Talawanda FFA. The biggest event was definitely our trip to the National FFA Convention, where Emma Puckett was a national competitor in the prepared public speaking event. 4 FFA members received the American FFA degree. Less than 1% of membership received this degree in honor. And our chapter was recognized as a national 3-star chapter, the highest honor as a chapter at the national level. Lastly, I have a report for Marshall. We've had quite a busy month inside and outside of the school day this past month. Students have been working hard in the classrooms. We were loving our new ELA curriculum and the partner and choral reading that is taking place. Our 3rd graders held a tribute veterans concert and did an amazing job. Guests in attendance got to see fabulous 3rd grade artwork displayed as they entered the building. 1st and 2nd graders had members of the Miami Swim and Dive team come in and read to them as part of the Red Hawk Readers program. We held our annual Halloween parade, and grown-ups gathered under the pavilion beforehand for coffee donuts that were provided by the PTG. Our PTG also hosted our first family bingo night. It was a huge hit with over 100 people in attendance. 5th graders completed COGAT testing this week. We had 11 girls compete in the Girls on the Run last Saturday in Cincinnati. Thank you to our Marshall and Miami coaches. It was fun to be part of this event. If you stop in Marshall, you will see the kindergartners' turkeys on display in the cafeteria. Students worked with their grown-ups to create a turkey, and they did an amazing job. Leading up to Thanksgiving break, our staff participated in an Undercover Spirit Week. It's been fun to watch the students' reactions as they tried to figure out the theme for the day. The staff enjoyed the camaraderie. Thank you.
Thank you. Arts and athletics report. I'm not going to do athletics because that is going to be covered by Mr. Richardson, other than to mention, excuse me, that tomorrow night is the Brave Madness event here at 6 p.m. Kick off the Talawanda basketball season with a fun-filled family event. Join us as we introduce our TMS basketball players and cheerleaders, watch the Talawanda High School boys and girls teams compete, and enjoy exciting activities like Chuck-a-Duck, a raffle, and concessions. It's a great way to show your Talawanda spirit and support our athletes as we begin the season, and admission is free to that event.
What time is that event?
6 o'clock. I also have, want to shout out to Kelly Case, who sent me a couple of things, and sorry, I got to find one of them here. The first one is, this was a Facebook post. Proud that, TMS is proud that Mrs. Case and Belle Canto could be part of the City of Oxford Veterans Day event. It was an honor to be invited. Now, give me 1 second here to find this email, which I swore I had printed out, also from her. Here it is. The sixth grade choir is diligently preparing for a production of A Christmas Carol, which will be presented on December 12th in the PAC here. Again, this is from Kelly Case at the middle school. As the Ohio Music Education Association District 13 Junior High Honor Choir Coordinator, she is organizing a choir festival weekend at Mason High School on January 25th and 26th. The board and community are warmly invited to the culminating performance on Sunday, January 26th at 4 p.m. in the Mason High School Theater. We would love to see the board members there supporting the Talawanda students participating in this exciting event. Any community members as well, again, that is in Mason High School on Sunday at 4 p.m. All right. Presentations, resolutions. First, we have got Ms. Tefelsky is going to do the 5-year forecast. We're moving that up just a little bit.
If you guys can hear me or not. It's that time of year again where we get to talk about our finances, and I want to thank everyone in the office in the audience for coming, because I know that I am the one that you want to listen to tonight and learn all about our finances. So thank you.
Can I interrupt you? I'm sorry for just 1 second. Ms. Hansel, could you please bring up the sign-in sheet book before we go any further? Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Do you want me to wait, or do you want to?
Oh, well, she can hand it to you.
Oh, that's fine. I'll go. I can go get it.
Jump at once. Thank you. My apologies. I meant to do that before you started talking.
So this forecast, and us talking about it, is an opportunity for us to look at our general fund balances. It's the general fund only. It's not our debt. It's not our permanent improvement. It's general fund only. And we get to talk about it on a global level, review where we landed in prior years, take a look at what we believe is going on this year, and where we think that we're going to be financially through fiscal year 29. The next slide. What is the purpose of the 5-year forecast? It is to engage the community and Board of Education in long-term planning and financial discussions. It is the basis for Talawanda's 412 certificate, allowing us to enter into our long-term contracts. It allows ODE, or DUE, as they're called now, and the Auditor of State to identify districts at risk, and it is a requirement that is completed, that must be completed twice a year in November and May of each year. We can do it more, but it's a requirement twice a year, November and May. A forecast consists of 3 years worth of historical data for both revenue and expenses, what we know to be true in the current fiscal year, with simulations and inflationary indexes added in for each category to arrive at future projections. We must remember that a forecast is just a forecast. It is not set in stone, but needs to be treated for what it really is, an extremely fluid document that could change and will change. Next slide. When doing the budgets and forecast, it is important to keep in mind that there are items that are not within our control and other items that are partially in our control. Some of the items that are out of our control are the state foundation, the Ohio budgets, property valuations and the collection rate of those property taxes, the inflation and the current economy, individual instructional needs of our students, legislation mandates, both funded and unfunded. Some of the items that we can partially control are personnel, both in staffing levels and in negotiated agreements, instructional programs and services that we offer, our third-party contracts, and the supplies and materials that are used within our district. Despite the most challenging set of fiscal circumstances since the pandemic, and barring any major changes to existing revenue and expenditure patterns, Talawanda is projecting a balanced budget through fiscal year '28. On the next slide, which is 1 out of 3 of my favorite slides, we're going to see a graph that captures our historical, current, and projected revenue and expenses with anticipated end-of-year cash balances, and it's a perfect snapshot. The blue line is revenue, red is expenditures, green is our ending cash balance. In the blue line, we are seeing that our revenue is slowly but surely increasing each year. The red line, which is our expenses, we have had a balanced budget since fiscal year '22 and are projecting to remain balanced through fiscal year '28. We do see a spike in fiscal year '23, but this is due, as a reminder, to our bus and maintenance construction project. And if we back this out, we do have excess cash within that fiscal year. The spike down in fiscal year '24 is a reflection of the first year of the 3-year cost savings plan that was implemented. At this time, year 2 and 3 are not being eliminated, and some of the year 1 cuts were brought back into our programs, so we are seeing that red line increase in outlying years. As I said, the green line represents our ending cash balances. These are our reserves, or in terms of our personal finances, this is Talawanda's savings account, and will fluctuate if we spend more than what we bring in each year. To maintain our 90 days cash on hand, which is always our goal, we never want that green line to dip below the $11 million mark, as our monthly expenses are roughly $3.4 to $3.7 million a month. Note for this forecast is that our revenue in total is reflecting an average annual growth rate of 0.477, while our expense rate of travel is increasing by an annual average of 3.64%. Next slide. Some ongoing items of concern that we are looking at and are always at our attention is that home sale prices remain well above the 2020 and prior levels. Legislation has and will continue to try to curb this growth. While inflation is trending in the right direction after more than 2 years of high inflationary pressures, which is honestly fantastic for our overall economy, the cost of supplies and materials has not decreased, so they are staying at that high level. The Consumer Price Index was 2.6% last month, which is fantastic news in my opinion. Periods of economic uncertainty tend to make the markets nervous, which can lead to volatility. We will be paying close attention to our investment income due to this. Competition for employees remains very intense and is likely to continue. Substitute teachers and staff shortages continue to persist. And our technology needs, this is an important note, our technology needs are back within the general fund. For a number of years since 2020, our coronavirus relief funds, our ESSER 1, ESSER 2, our ARP funds helped pay for our one-to-one technology. That has been exhausted. That is now back within our general fund. Security measures may need to be addressed, requiring additional financial resources which are not budgeted within this forecast. It's an unknown, so it's not budgeted within this forecast. On the next slide, we are going to take a quick look at our revenue drivers. What makes up each of our components here. So you're going to see that 49% comes from all property tax, which includes our residential, our agriculture, commercial, industrial, and public utilities. 21% comes from our 1% school district income tax that the community approved in 2004. 24% is from the state in our Ohio Department of Education share per student, and also within the homestead and rollback reimbursement that they give to homeowners, which is now called the state share of real estate tax. And then 6% comes from other sources such as Medicaid reimbursements, investment income, special ed tuition from other school districts, and prior year refunds. So in a nutshell and bottom line, our community funds 76% of our children's education, and the state funds 24%. Next slide, Matt. So what are the things that we need to pay attention to as far as a few revenue highlights and assumption? The county completed the 2023 triennial update with the second half collections coming in this current fiscal year. While the valuations increased by a little over 34%, our actual tax collections equated to a 19% financial jump in fiscal year 24. And we are anticipating another increase of 12% in fiscal year 25, which is actually 2% higher than projected in the spring forecast. Talawanda is on the 20 mil floor, which means that our effective tax rate on our voted and unvoted millage cannot be lowered anymore by House Bill 920. Rockies Pipeline has been a hot topic over the past couple of forecasts as they had been disputing their valuation. They wanted it decreased by 50%. The state settled at 88%. So during that time, as they were negotiating that, they had been paying their taxes at the 50% valuation. So now that they have reached the agreement, even though we have not received the official settlement paperwork, I do know that they have reached that agreement. They will need to reimburse us for that 38% that they had not been paying us in the final years. We have received that windfall that was in our fall settlement, which is why you will see a $1 million increase, but that is a one-time increase on that. This settlement agreement is lasting for 15 years, which means they are not allowed to dispute their valuation for 15 years. So that is good news, because generally the public utilities don't want to pay the high taxes. They want to, keep it as low as possible. Also of note is that although we can dispute our county valuations for commercial industrial, we cannot dispute public utilities. That is only on a state level. So we have no voice in that. We take what we can get and hope for the best on that. Our school district income tax, we are seeing a slight increase in our first two collections this year. As a result, we are forecasting an increase of 3.7% this year, with a 2.7% annual increase in the outlying years. Our state aid, both unrestricted and restricted, were calculated using the October number 2 and November number 1 foundation settlements. We are currently on the guarantee and have maintained this throughout the district, or throughout the forecast. Our district has been on the guarantee since I've been working with the district, and that, for Mr. Wyatt's reference, is 2007. So we are firmly on the guarantee. Our increased property valuations does have an effect on the state funds through the fair school funding formula, making us even more of a high-wealth district and allowing them to decrease their financial support to us. If you take a look at the state share index in fiscal year '24, we were at 21.77%, but in fiscal year '25, this current year, we have dropped down to 13.79%, which thankfully we are on the guarantee. We do have 2 state budgets that are in this forecast with a lot of uncertainty as what's going to happen within those 2 budgets. One area that does show a modest 1.5% annual increase in this category is the casino tax. For fiscal year '25, we're utilizing a $66.32 per student calculation. In our other revenue, we have done very well with our investment income, bringing in roughly $1.1 million in fiscal year '24, and we're estimating a little over $1.2 million in investment income for this current fiscal year. As the markets and the economy taper down, so will these interest rates, and we will be watching this going forward because this is a very vital part of our other revenue within our district budget. Medicaid reimbursements are reflected as stable with 0 increase or decreases in the outlying years. These reimbursements are derived from our special ed population, and it is not a consistent, reliable number each year. So I have maintained that flat throughout the upcoming years. I don't have this as a slide, but occasionally the question comes up as far as how does our fiscal year '25 estimated revenue compare to what was projected in May of this past year. So we are estimating that we will be better off by $1.7 million compared to the May forecast. These projections include $389,000 in real estate, $1 million in personal property tax, which is the one-time windfall for the Rockies pipeline settlement, $94,000 in school district income tax. We believe that we will see a decrease of $70,000 in our state aid, $300,000 in other operating revenue, primarily focused on our investment income, and we had $56,000 less in transfers in and out and other financing revenue, and that is due to the fact that we always budget $75,000 as a placeholder in order to do advances to the federal grants or student activity grants that might be in the negative at fiscal year end. Well, that is an offset each year as far as then your revenue needs to be budgeted at $75,000 as well. So if we only need to advance $13,000, then obviously we're not bringing in that $75,000 in revenue the following year. So if we move on to our expenses, next slide, Matt, please. So this is just a recap of where our money is going, and this slide is using fiscal year '25 only, but it has been pretty consistent prior years and in the future. 74% is in personnel and in fringe benefits, 19% in purchase services, 2% in supplies and materials, 2% in capital and equipment, and 3% in dues and fees. As I said, this is pretty consistent year over year with our biggest expense being staffing. Next slide, Matt. So some of the expenditure highlights and assumptions that were used. Payroll, as I stated, represents 74% of our expenses, but if you take a look at the personnel that is hired through Butler County ESC, through Peterman, Alpha Omega, and Everdriven, we are more like 80% in personnel. We are very heavy in human resources. The ESSER grants have been exhausted, so we utilized the last of the ARP funds last fiscal year. So our personnel is firmly within the general fund, except for our federal grants, which is the Title I, our IDEA, early childhood special ed. Those have been consistent throughout the years. That personnel is still within those federal budgets. This school year, we brought back 2 counselors and a gifted teacher from the year 1 savings cuts. We saw savings with our year 1 cuts from the 3-year savings plan, as well as the 0% COLA that all staff faced in fiscal year '24. I think that's important to keep mention of that. Negotiations were completed for both unions, and the board settled at a 4% increase for fiscal year '25, 3% increase for fiscal year '26, and 2% for fiscal year '27. For planning purposes only, a 2% COLA increase was utilized in fiscal year '28 and '29. That was just for the cost of living increase and does not include the step increases or the step indexes that are built into each of the union salary schedules. On average, this is a 2% annual increase. Benefits, this is going to be our retirement, SERS and STIRS. This is going to be our health care. This is Medicare that we must pay to the government. We saw a 17.9% increase in health premiums in calendar year '23. We faced a 6% increase in calendar year '24. And we are faced with an overall average of 10.9% for calendar year '25. And it's important to note that when I state the calendar years, these increases are affecting 2 different fiscal years. So for planning purposes, even though we have a 17.9 and a 6%, you're going to have to take the average and, split it basically into 2 fiscal years. In the outlying years, 7.5% was used for fiscal year '26, followed by 6.5% for the remainder of the forecast. In our healthcare, I just want to let everyone know that the increases, the decreases, it's all based on the number of claims and the loss ratios of our consortium. We have had a number of gene therapy patients within our consortium, which has been driving up the cost these past 2 years. But we have, in the past 10 to 12 years, enjoyed premium increases that were 2 to 3%. It's now catching up to us, which we are now being faced with the national norm of 10, 11% increases. But I want to remind everyone that we did enjoy some of those 2 to 3% increases within the past 10 years. Purchase services, transportation remained at a 1 tier for fiscal year '25, with us bringing back the extracurricular busing, and that has been layered in. Fiscal year '26 will bring us back to fiscal year '23 levels with a full 2-tier system. A 3.4% annual increase was utilized in the remainder of the years, '27 through '29. We brought back 2 full-time SROs within our elementaries. This one is of concern, which is why we're seeing a spike next year. There is a new capacity charge for electricity. This is catching everyone's attention of late, but it's really not well known. There is going to be a new charge. We are anticipating a 20% increase in electricity. This is only going to be, as of right now, a one-time capacity charge. It will start this June and end in June of 2026. But after this upcoming year, we are anticipating a 3% increase in '28 and '29. All other categories within the purchase services, and there are a lot of them, and each one are treated individually. Each one of them is received a 2 to 5% annual increase. Moving on to the supplies and materials, this is our instructional supplies, our textbook adoption, our fuel for our buses, maintenance and janitorial supplies, and is forecasted at an annual increase of 3 to 5%. In regards to the fuel, we saw a $173,000 decrease in fuel last year, with much of the savings coming from being a one-tier system. Fiscal year 25, I planned at a 5% increase, with an additional $50,000 layered in to accommodate the extracurricular, athletic, and band transportation. 13% for fuel was used for 26 due to the two-tier return, and then an annual 4% in the outlying years. Our capital outlay, yes, we could buy a piece of, a table, chairs, anything like that, but primarily it is our one-to-one technology, our devices for the students, the devices so that they can always be in touch with each other. So that is following the IT directors and my plan. We meet twice a year, and it is following that one-to-one plan that the board originally approved. I believe it was back in 2015. So that rotation is still in motion. Other objects is dues and fees, and I have increased this an additional 5.85% based on information from the state and county auditors for their fees, and 2.5% in areas that we have a little bit more control over. Similar to the revenue, I do not have a slide for this, but still want to talk about how we differ from what was forecasted in the spring for our fiscal year 25 expenses. So we are estimating that Talawanda will be better off by $886,000 in our expenses. Almost all categories are showing lower numbers except for purchase services and capital outlay. We believe that we will have a decrease of $672,000 in personnel, which can be contributed to the shift in 5 building subs that were approved to be within our payroll, but during the summer, it was decided to hire them through the Butler County ESC. So the expense is still there, but it's a swing from the 100 object codes to the 400 object codes. And this can be said for also the 200, the retirement, the medical, the dental, and all of that. So there's going to be a swing from the 100 and 200s to the 400s. But it still plays a part if you're comparing the spring to now, why there's a bigger difference.
And we're doing that, why?
What's that?
We're doing that, why? Are we changing those? Moving them to Butler ESC?
It's a little bit easier to, there's a little bit more control as far as if we wanted it to be a 1 year. They have a better pool of candidates that we can pull from. Human Resources just asked for that. We saw no reason not to. There's not a swing in cost. They're still being paid the same amount as they would on our books. It was just an internal decision, an internal HR decision to hire them through the ESC. To take a drink. He was talking specifically about the 5 building subs.
And the 5 building subs. Butler County ESC handles. So it made sense. So anytime we have a substitute,
To COG.
they actually provide the stuff background check. So we don't have
Okay.
So it's a savings as far as time and effort then.
Yes.
Thank you.
So getting back to the personnel, fiscal year '24 numbers in personnel came in 208,000 lighter than forecasted, which is the starting point when doing the November forecast. So the November forecast is not building itself off of the May forecast, it's building itself off of the hard actual numbers of where we landed when we closed the books. And we came in 208,000 lighter. Some of that is due to that we didn't have as much of in severance payments as forecasted. Supplementals, some of the supplementals did not get in, and so those supplemental, like the spring coaches, who are not teachers, they are lay coaches. They do not get paid until after the season is over. They have to fill out their calendar. Those did not come in as expected, so they were paid out in July. So there is that swing to reference. So we are seeing a decrease in fringe benefits of 172,000. As I said, a lot of that a portion of that is for the 5 building subs that we're now going to see within the purchase services. It can also be said as far as because we didn't have that 208,000, we came in lighter, then we also don't have the retirement and the Medicare that we pay off of that. So that is in direct correlation to that. We did have an increase of 36,000 in purchase services. We had an increase in capital outlay of 17,000, decrease of 22,000 in other fees and dues, and a decrease of 62,000 in transfers out and advances. And that is because we did not need that 75,000 to advance to the federal grants. We only needed a portion of that. So that is why we are seeing a decrease of 62,000. All in all, this is a great place in starting the foundation of this year's building blocks for the outlying years. The next 2 slides are seriously my favorite slides. I say that every year, and I will continue to say that. This first one is the current cash trends. This is a snapshot of everything. It is the revenue, it is our expenditures, it is our ending cash balance. It's the hard numbers without all of the components. So it's literally, you can see what our beginning balance is, what we're anticipating for each of the revenues, our expenses, whether we had a deficit. You can see that deficit in fiscal year '23, but remember that was our bus and maintenance construction project. And where we're going to land, except that now it's layering in our average expenditures per month, our average expenditures per day. We can see how many months that we have on hand at the end of each fiscal year, as well as how many days we are anticipating at each year end. So, like I said, this is one of my keep it simple graphs that I like to make reference to. The next slide is very similar in nature, except it shows it in a bar graph. Blue is revenue, red is expenditures, green is the ending cash balances, and the purple line going through it is our 90-day cash ratio. That is our goal, to always maintain 90 days worth of cash. And as you can see, we are projected to maintain that 90-day threshold throughout the entire forecasting period. Before I end this, I would like to go through a few challenges and pressure points that may affect us moving forward. The first one is, next slide, Matt. The first one is Senate Bill 271. This could put some pressure on our tax collections. If passed, this would modify and give relief to eligible homeowners whose property taxes exceed 5% of their income. This was proposed in direct response to the high valuation for homeowners. Commercial properties within the counties are started to happen in tax year 23, but other counties are experiencing that for the first time this year. STRS, the State Teachers Retirement System Board, just made the decision to lower the threshold for full retirement benefits for teachers to 33 years from 34 years. This change will go into effect June of 2025. And what does this mean for Talawanda? While we do not want to lose some of our amazing teachers, we may have some teachers retire earlier versus staying a few more years. So while we could see some cost savings down the line, because if we have a more experienced teacher retire, we could have the opportunity to hire a lower years of experience. That came out wrong, but you know what I'm saying, a less tenured teacher, so we could save some money. But on the flip side of that, during that time frame, we would have a higher, I might have to increase the placeholder of $125,000 that I use for severance each year. We will have 2 biennial budgets that we will need to get through within this forecast, and a lot can happen that are still unknowns to this day. We still have year 5 and 6 left of the Fair School Funding 6-year plan. The guarantee is still a hot topic with legislation, with discussions of eliminating it. If this happens, we could lose a minimum of $2 million a year. If they get rid of the guarantee, as of right now today, it's an automatic $2 million less in revenue each year. That is a huge pressure point that we are going to keep tabs on. Just before I wrap up and say thank you so much, I do want to remind everyone that these are not hard and fast numbers. They are very fluid in nature with the information that we have at our fingertips as of today, and we need to treat this as a guide only. They can change at a moment's notice at the board's direction to institute a new program if we have additional staffing needs for our special needs, if we have higher class sizes, if we have an influx of people moving within our district. So please keep that in mind. And at this time, I'm going to say thank you for letting me speak, and I am opening it up for any questions.
I have a question. When I first came on the board almost 5 years ago,
Yeah.
we were officially in, I can't remember what it was called, fiscal caution or fiscal whatever,
We are not
and
in
we are
that.
not in that
We have-
anymore.
Since 2020, we have been working extremely hard to make sure that we have a balanced budget, and the efforts that have been made, and thankfully, you can't deny it, the federal money with the ESSER, the ARP money, that played a huge difference. We supplanted as much as we could and moved the current general fund expenditures within these grants that were allowed. Instead of hiring a second teacher to put into each classroom like some districts who received millions upon millions of dollars, we did not do that. We took a look at our technology, our instructional supplies, staffing, if it met the guideline, and we moved the general fund dollars and put them into those federal grants. So we worked very hard to do that.
So that helped kind of get us to this balance point, but we are maintaining that balance point even though those federal funds are no longer there.
Yes.
We are balancing up to 29, potentially.
Yes, but I'm going to have to say that the 2023 property valuation increase helped us immensely. Because we are on the 20 mil floor, we will be seeing and are seeing that increase. We will have another valuation update in tax year 26 with the revenue coming in 27. I'm only forecasting a 5% increase overall between all of the different components, Class 1, Class 2, PUP, only a 5% increase for fiscal year 27, and that is being a little aggressive because I think I heard at some point in time could we be a little bit more aggressive with these numbers? I'm very conservative with my numbers. I don't like to come back within these forecasts and say, I anticipated 20 million, we only brought in 16 million. That gives a false sense of security. So I play very close with these numbers, and I'm not very aggressive with the revenue side of things. But I did. I was a little bit more aggressive, so I'm hoping I don't have egg on my face, but
We are too.
yeah, I know.
I do want to get back to the ESSER money, and just for the folks that are new here, I think Shauna and Dr. Thoreau did an excellent job of making sure we utilized all of those dollars. I know other schools did not and sent money back,
They did.
and I know it was extra work for us to do that, but I want to thank you both for that.
We're not, if the feds are giving us money, we're not giving
Not gonna
it
give it
back.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got lots. 5-year forecast. One of my favorite things, Shauna, I've been looking at them, went back all the way to 2014. I appreciate that you and your predecessor, Mr. Davis, are very conservative financial people. I think that's exactly what we want in a treasurer. And so I'd go back to 2014 and I'd look in that 5-year forecast. Mr. Davis was off $10 million plus to our advantage. And from 2015, we were off $8 million. Every forecast has been wrong, which we would expect, in our favor. We're always way better off than the treasurer says, which I think is your job. Now, this forecast, just from May to November, because of things that have happened, we brought in 1.7 million more and spent almost 900,000 less. So we're $2.6 million better off in the forecast just from May to November. Now, that's a chunk of change. And I'm thinking that leaves us with 270 days. You're estimating we have left cash reserves, 270 days worth of cash reserves. Now, tonight, Mr. Malone's going to bring up, 44 policies, Mr. Malone? I'm excited to hear 44 policies. One of them is budget preparation policy 6220, and in it says, as part of the commitment to sound fiscal management, the board will keep district finances managed to ensure a general operating fund of unencumbered, unreserved cash balance equivalent to 90 days, and we will have 270 days. And even if you follow your forecast to the end, we have 253 days of funds in reserve in 2029. $33.7 million we'll have in the bank in 2029. Now, I know when I was working, I saved up money because someday I'm going to retire and stop working. The district's not going to retire. We don't need to save up money. We just need to make sure we have enough to continue to operate. We'll always bring in money and spend money. And I would suggest that 253 days worth of funds, $33.7 million, is a lot of money to have left over 5 years from now. And part of that policy, I'll read this little paragraph. You have to bear with me. You have to put up with extra policy tonight. Part of that policy says the board supports good stewardship of taxpayer dollars. To that end, the board is committed to operating the district with fiscally sound management practices, which we have, despite what some people say about us. We're doing really well, and I appreciate that. The board directs the administration, teachers, and other school personnel in charge of making budgetary decisions and/or recommendations to responsibly manage operational cost while maintaining a high level of educational excellence within the district. While maintaining a high level, not an average level, not an okay level, a high level of educational excellence within the district. It seems that we are doing really well, Talawanda. Congrats to the staff, the administration, everybody, the teachers, and the students. We are doing really well educationally. How do we maintain and grow that high level of educational excellence? I don't think necessarily building up a bank account is, we aren't going to get a prize for that at the end. The prize is educating our students to the best of our ability. So I would suggest we have money to invest in our students. We just invested $2 million in busing at the last meeting. I would suggest we do a similar investment of $400,000 to $600,000 a year, maybe $2.5 million over the next 5 years in our students' educational achievement. I know, for example, that we could use another gifted teacher at least to serve those students with that need, and that need is not being met as well as we could meet it. And I think our job is to meet that need to our ability. And I'm looking at this forecast. We spend that money, we'll still have $30 million in the bank. I think we'll be fine. I look at other things like class size in some of the elementaries. I go through Bogan weekly, and some of those classes look like they're pretty large to the point where that may affect what the teacher's able to accomplish with the students. I'd like to see that looked at. I know the middle school had some difficulties with math scores and talked about the need for another intervention person or possibly a math coach in the curriculum department. Those are things I think we should look at. I also think the guidance department in the high school is being overwhelmed with new data requirements and might need some more help. I think those are things we should look at. My suggestion, Dr. Thoreau and Mr. Fauski, keep an eye on the money while they're doing this so they don't go crazy. I would like to see Dr. Thoreau, the leadership team, the staff, come up with a list of priorities of what we need, not what we want, what we need to continue our growth in becoming the best school district in this county, continue being the #1 high school in the county, and continue meeting the needs of all of our students, be they gifted or special needs or needing intervention or any of those things. We have the means to continue to be the best district in Butler County. We should use that money for our students. So I'm suggesting we make that investment. I would like to see you come back with something early next year. It may get voted down by everybody else, but I would like to see us investigate what is it we need to continue our growth and success, and what is it we need to meet some needs that are not being met, that maybe we have shortcomings when we look at the data of some of the things that we know. So the 5-year forecast, Mr. Fauski, is very good news for me because finally I get to say with confidence that I would like to see us invest in our students while we continue to be fiscally responsible. So thank you for the report.
So, Mr. Mead, how did you come out with that number?
Pulled it out of my head, Mr. Otto.
All right.
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking Dr. Thoreau. 400 to 600,000. That's $2.5 million. We still have plenty of money left over. If we don't need to spend that, don't spend that.
I think rather than giving them a specific figure, we just need to ask them to come back, actually, as you said, get with the leadership team, what are the things that we need, and then what is that going to cost, rather than give them
Each need's going to be a different price.
each need's going to be a different price.
And I'm fine with that as long as we're developing a prioritized list of things that we can do to invest in our students.
Mr. Mead, I'm going to caution you
Okay.
and the rest of the board very cautiously, looking at the fiscal year 29 numbers. When looking at a forecast, you can pretty much say that year 1 and year 2, you're going to be really close, but the further out you get, anything can happen. And so if we just automatically add in, $2.5 million, because it's, if you add in 600,000, that is going to compound on each other. And then if the guarantee is thrown out the window, we will be looking a lot different. So I'm going to caution you, as much as I appreciate that you want to do what's best for our students. I applaud that, but I want us to be very cautious about looking at what is brought back.
And I appreciate that caution, but as I said, looking back as far as I could find, because these 5-year forecasts are not kept on the website before you came, I think past boards were not as transparent and did not put up as much stuff, so I couldn't go back too far. There has never been a time where we were worse off than we said. We've always been much, much better off than we said, which I think is a treasurer's job, and you do it well. But I appreciate that caution. My sense is Dr. Throw and the leadership team are not crazy and going to order everyone Cadillacs. I think these are responsible, intelligent people who would be able to say, here's what we need to do better, and if we don't need it, we aren't going to get it.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
If we can't afford it, we're not going to get it.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
in years 3, 4, and 5, there are still a lot of unknowns that we should not just be spending willy-nilly.
Right.
So, and I appreciate that my counterparts will come back and be very responsible in that. But yes,
I trust them.
my finance mind just like, ugh.
I know. I'm not here to keep you happy, Mr. Fausti.
I know.
Sorry.
You're here to put stress on me.
I know.
And Sean, I have one question. Looking at the data and being obviously new to Ohio too, it seems like Columbus is pushing more of the funding back to the local community in a big way. And so what does concern me is, it's fine right now, but after 2029, those numbers go in the opposite direction. And if Columbus continues to push for lower income taxes and so forth, which means less money for the local communities, not just school districts, but more of the local community, with 75% of our funding, that's amazing. The new Ohio, and that's actually an amazing number.
Yes.
That I think people do not know or can conceptualize right now what that will mean going forward, those policy decisions in Columbus, and that's what frightens me, actually, as a board member.
Greatly frightens me. Causes me sleepless nights.
Yes.
I think we can all acknowledge that we're a little frightened. But the 5-year forecast gives us hope, so.
It gives us hope. And I had a really large audience today.
Yeah, really.
Tonight,
You
so
rarely
I
have
wanna
this
say
large of an
thank
audience for your
you.
5-year. Thank you.
They came for you.
Thank you. Before we move on, I'm actually going to have to ask some indulgence to take a brief recess.
Okay.
So talk amongst yourselves. Judging by the
You're that, and I
traffic
have a note
out
on
in
that.
the hallway, I was
me,
not
and I
the only
signed it
one
and
who
dated it.
benefited from that little break, so thank you for that. All right, next up, we have Mr. Richardson with the athletic department update, fall sports.
No, can you hear me? There we
Yep.
go. Thank you. This fall, another successful season, Talawanda Athletics. We had 262 high school student athletes, 123 middle school student athletes. Middle school athletics, just hit on them real quick. Cheerleaders had 22, cross country 17. Football, we had 58. Eighth grade had a great season. They finished 7-1 this year. Volleyball, we had 26 student athletes. Seventh grade finished 11-6, and eighth graders finished 12-5. So we'll continue to have that volleyball program is strong right now, and will continue to be that way for the years to come. Cheerleading, very strong. You saw middle school, there was a lot of them, and we have a lot at the high school as well, which is awesome. They lead the spirit of our athletic programs and do a fantastic job. The coaches and student athletes, they're one of the groups that they put in a lot of hours and hard work that you don't really sometimes see or not everybody pays attention to, but they do a phenomenal job and really appreciate everything that they do. Boys cross country had 15 student athletes. They were SWAC conference champions this year. Bryson Fears, congratulations to him for being the SWAC runner of the year. Coach Amelia Oberslake for being the SWAC coach of the year. The boys team finished third in districts, which is Southwest Ohio is a very strong district, and actually qualified as a team for regionals this year and went up there and competed well. Girls cross country, 15 student athletes, SWAC champions for the 8th year in a row. Adriana Lukin was the SWAC runner of the year, so congratulations to her. Amelia Oberslake was the SWAC coach of the year for the girls cross country team as well. The group down there in the bottom left-hand corner, Lucia Rodbro, Adriana Lukin, Ellery Duvall, Abram Mills, Katie Sparks, Maddie Sparks, Claire Crack, they had an absolutely phenomenal season. That is the best cross-country team that we've ever seen here at Talawanda. They went on they placed third in districts, went on to regionals, and were regional champions for Division I, and then went on to the state and finished 4th in the state. Had an absolute phenomenal season, very fun to watch. Did a great job. We have a lot of them returning. I think it was 1985, mid-1980s, since we sent a full team to regionals, and those girls went up there and won it. So great job. Lucia finished 13th in the state. Adriana finished 14th. They were both all Ohio. Just a lot of fun to watch them run. Lucia will be going down to the University of Miami in Florida to run cross country and track, so she'll continue to represent Talawanda down there at a very high level of collegiate competition. Football, we had a very large squad this year, 78 student athletes. We had an overall record of 3-8 with 1-2 conference record. They made the playoffs this year, which was big. Got an extra game up at Tippecanoe to play this season. Lance Cantrell is a running back, and he missed the first 2 games of the season. He still rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he will be back. He's only a junior, so that's pretty exciting. Cale Leach threw for over 2,000 yards this season. He set a school record with 343 career completions and tied a school record for career touchdown passes with 40. So we'll miss having him around, but it was exciting to watch him play this season. Boys golf, we had 15 student athletes, overall record of 11-4, finished 6th in sectionals as a team. Just missed, I think it was 2 strokes we missed by getting into districts as a team again. The amount of middle school golfers that we have and our young golfers, freshmen, sophomores that are coming, it is very strong. We're going to have a lot of success in golf, especially we'll move over to the SWBL next year. What's coming up through is pretty exciting, so we should be very strong there in the future. Girls golf, again, 6 student athletes, had a 3-3 record, and then great performance in tournament play. We got up to 6 girls golfers, and not one of them was a senior, so some of them were first-time golfers, so they learned a lot, made great improvement, and we look forward to having them all back next year. Boys soccer, 32 student athletes, overall record of 4-11-3. A lot of improvement in this group. It's a younger group. A lot of them are returning next year, and that JV team had a lot of success as well. So it's a strong group coming back. Looking forward to what all they do in the future. Girls soccer, 29 student athletes, overall record of 8-9-1. Finished second in the SWAC with a 4-2 conference record behind a very good Division II Harrison team that they competed with in both games that they played them. They had a first round OHSA tournament win over Monroe, and then they played in the second round and competed well in that against a very good Bain team as well. Girls tennis, 16 student athletes, overall record of 12-7. SWAC champions again this year. Coach Silverstein was SWAC Coach of the Year, and Abby Curry was the SWAC Player of the Year. Volleyball, we had 27 student athletes, overall record of 20-4, so a great, phenomenal season for them. SWAC champions with a 6-0 conference record. Coach Dunwoody was the SWAC Coach of the Year. Abby Noga was the SWAC Player of the Year. Abby hit 1,000 career assists this year, and she is only a junior, so she will stack onto that quite a bit next year as a senior. And that was earlier in the season as well. Had a big first-round tournament win, and just fell short to a really tough Turpin team that made a pretty good run in the tournament. Obviously, thank you to all our senior athletes and family, marching band, coaches, athletic trainers. Greg and Kendall, we have two of the best athletic trainers in high school, we are very blessed to have them. Custodial staff, our sponsors, our staff and volunteers that everything's able to run because of them. So, and obviously our Talawanda athletic boosters. Any questions?
Can you talk a little bit about how some of these particular teams are going to be either more or less or equally competitive in the new league?
Well, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded
on
question.
which team you're talking about. No, it's a great fit for us. It really is. Our a lot of our golf is strong. Volleyball as a team sport is very strong. It will be a very competitive league, and that's what's great about it. Mm-hmm. Some of our sports will stay, our girls cross country, and they'll stay up there at the top, and they'll get pushed a little bit by some teams as well, which is good. That's what you want. You want to be in a competitive conference. And some of our team sports, there'll be some struggles at times, but again, it kind of gives that consistency of what to work to. It's consistency and matches our school district well, our student athletes well, across the board, across all those teams, and not. It can be. There's some different. In our conference right now, there's always been some different type of athletes on the field and matchups and different types of situations that you have to figure out that it can be extremely different based on the teams on the field. But I think it gives us a lot more consistency there.
And then football doesn't move over for another season, right?
Yeah, football will go over, and so 25 and then your 26 season will stay with Harrison, Mount Healthy, and Northwest in the SWAC. Then we'll move over because those schedules are set out multiple years in advance.
But all of these other fall sports are moving next fall.
The rest of all of our schools go next year.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions? Or thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson, for your leadership of this department too, and all the support you give our athletes and our families. Thank you. All right. We now have Mike Malone's favorite part of a meeting. We're actually doing things a little bit differently for this one. This was such a big policy dump that rather than having him summarize every individual policy, all he's going to summarize through are the bylaws, because we rarely deal with bylaws. Those just don't get changed as often. So he's going to summarize the bylaws, and then the bylaws and all of these policy changes are available, again, on board docs. You can click on them and see what the specific changes are.
Okay, good evening. And just a little explanation, the difference between the bylaws and the policies, the bylaws are kind of the direction and the guidance of the board, and then the policies are the direction and the guidance of the staff of the district. So Tonight, there are 14 bylaws that I'm going to go through because those are, like Dr. Howard said, not typically changed that often. And then there are 30 policies that are presented tonight for first reading. So the first bylaw is bylaw 0100. It's definitions. This one's revised. And it's been revised to update the definitions of personal communication devices and the term president, ensuring that the definition of president and vice president accurately cross-reference board policy 0152 officers. Additionally, since the treasurer is responsible for taking meeting minutes, there's no role for a secretary. Bylaw 0142.1, this is the oath. This has been revised to specify that the treasurer or a board member shall administer the oath of office to new members. Additionally, Neola has added the phrase impartially perform to the oath of office. Bylaw 0151, organizational meetings. This one has been revised to specify that the board shall determine a date for an organizational meeting by December 31st of the previous year, scheduling it within the first 15 days of January to elect a new board president and vice president. Bylaw 0152, officers, has been revised to explain the roles of the president and vice president and committee chairs. It also states board officers shall be elected by a majority of all members. Any members of the board may nominate either themselves or another member for office. Bylaw 0155, this is committees. This has a technical correction, and this bylaw states a committee of the board may meet in executive session in accordance with the provisions of bylaw 0167.2, which is the new executive session bylaw. Bylaw 0163, presiding officer. This is a technical correction, and this bylaw is a technical correction to cross-reference the changes in bylaw 0152 officers. Bylaw 0164, notice of meetings. This bylaw has been revised to include the board meeting shall be posted in the district office. It was also revised to include CFO with the treasurer's title. Bylaw 0165, board meetings. This is a new bylaw. It consolidates information about board meetings that was previously included in bylaw 0165.1 regular meetings and bylaw 0165.2 special meetings. Additionally, the optional section on emergency meetings has been streamlined into a separate optional paragraph. Details concerning agendas and consent agendas have been relocated in bylaw 0166, which is the agendas bylaw. Also, the content regarding emergency meetings, which was previously optional, is now permanently included in the policy, or the bylaw, I'm sorry, to ensure that the district is ready for such situations. The next two policies have been rescinded. It's 0165.1 regular meetings and 0165.2. These bylaws have been rescinded, and the material has been consolidated in the new policy 0165 board meetings. 0166 agendas. This is a new policy. This content is related to executive session in this bylaw and has been renumbered and moved unchanged to bylaw 0167.2. It has been replaced with the agendas related content from bylaw 0165.1 regular meetings, which is now bylaw, the new bylaw 0165 board meetings. 0167.2 has been renumbered. The content of this bylaw was renumbered and moved unchanged from bylaw 0166 executive session. The content it replaced, the use of personal communication devices, was renumbered to bylaw 0167.7, which is the next one, which has been renumbered and revised. The content of this renumbered bylaw is from the 0167.2, use of personal communication devices. The content has been updated to reflect current definitions and policy related to personnel communication devices and district technology resources. And then bylaw 0173, this is board officers. This has been rescinded. This bylaw is rescinded. All content related to board officers is now found in bylaw 0152 officers. That is the end of the bylaws. There are 30 policies, which is why I think you asked me not to read them all in that fashion. So are there questions that I can answer for any of the policies or bylaws?
Again, this is just first reading, too.
This is first reading, yes.
So we won't vote on these until next month. Does anybody have any questions about the bylaws or any of these new policies?
I just had a question about, you're probably not going to know which one this is. It's one of the personal communication devices ones.
Okay.
It's 5136. And I'm kind of looking at the difference between the old version and the new version. It's pretty similar, but it just caught my eye because, and I don't know if there's any, pushback with Neola on this or not, but, students being completely prohibited from using or recording, using any type of recording devices. I don't know. It just kind of hits me weird. Like if a kid feels threatened or something, would they be in trouble for recording, some kind of bullying, and then they could get in trouble for, bringing that forward? I don't know. It's not much of a change from the old one, but I don't know. That it doesn't hit me quite right.
I big note. I can pass the question on to Neola and get an answer for you. Okay.
Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions or? All right, thank you so much, Mr. Malone.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We are now moving to welcome to visitors and public participation. Thank you all for coming out this evening. Just some reminders of how we do this. Anyone who is a district resident or is an employee of the district is welcome to come and speak to address the board on matters of TSD business. And again, we ask people to address the board, not the audience. Talk to us. This is our turn to listen. We don't answer. We don't respond. This is our turn to listen. Generally for this, we do 3 minutes each with 30 minutes total. Since we do have a good number of people who have signed up here, we will exceed that 30 minutes to a certain degree. Again, we'll have to be really strict on the 3-minute limit, though. I will give you a reminder, all right, when you've got about 10 seconds left. So we are starting with Matt Likens. When you come to the mic, please state your name, your residence, or employee status.
Good evening, Matt Likens, teacher, Talawanda High School, TEA co-president and Oxford resident. I want to take a few minutes to thank the board for the opportunities to meet for our board dinners. Each one was a chance to sit as people with a common cause and enjoy each other's company without an agenda. Thank you to the board, administration, and staff who attended. Additionally, I want to formally thank David Annable for serving as my co-president the past 7 years. His dedication and empathy were always welcome, and his knowledge of contract and policy often left me stunned and grateful. Most of all, I'm glad to call him a friend, and his new position as a labor relations consultant for OEA, while depriving us of his strengths as a union leader and school psychologist, will inevitably enrich the district he's working with. Finally, I want to introduce our new officers. Ted Caudill will assume the co-presidency, and I'm confident from knowing him the past 25 years that his commitment will be valued immediately. Sarah Reedy has been tapped as our vice president, and we are very pleased at having a seasoned elementary teacher with negotiations experience in that position. Tracy Lakes will be our new secretary, and we're excited to welcome her and her union experience from New Miami. Finally, Chelsea Pike joins the Executive Council to facilitate issues related to our specialists, such as guidance counselors, school psychologists, social workers, etc. It's been a busy fall for a variety of angles, but as always, I am so grateful as to how our teachers step up to support each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Likens. Emily Likens.
Good evening. I'm Emily Likens, citizen of Oxford, mother of 2 Talawanda graduates and a current senior, and this is my 27th year teaching at Marshall Elementary. With Thanksgiving just a week away, I've begun to reflect on what I'm thankful for this year. As always, being a part of the Marshall community is at the top of the list. I would like to share some of the initiatives that have been shaping our community, fostering kindness and encouraging the growth of our students, not just in the classroom, but in the world around them. First, I want to talk about our cross-grade level family groups. This is our second year of having monthly family group meetings, and they've become a wonderful part of our school culture. My kids cheer when I announce it's Family Group Day. Each family consists of at least one adult and 1 or 2 students from each grade level. Students will continue to be in the same family group their entire career at Marshall. By grouping students from different grades together, we're creating opportunities for them to learn from each other, build relationships, and support one another. Each month, our focus is on a different personal asset, such as teamwork or responsibility. It's truly inspiring and heartwarming to see how these mixed-age connections are strengthening our community. Another highlight this year was our K-Kids food drive, which is a testament to the compassion and generosity our school is known for. This year, the drive was focused on baked good items. Together, our school was able to collect 290 pounds to help Talawanda families in need. It's heartwarming to see how Marshall Elementary students are not just learning about empathy, they're living in it. They understand that even small acts of kindness can have a big impact. Speaking of inspiring programs, I also want to shine a light on Girls on the Run, something that's dear to my heart. This after-school program was an incredible opportunity for our girls to build confidence, develop leadership skills, and engage in physical activities as they trained for a 5K. This year, our team consisted of 5 fifth grade and 5 fourth grade student girls, as well as 3 teacher coaches and 4 Miami University coaches. Through running, teamwork, and goal setting, the girls learn not just how to be strong athletes, but strong individuals who believe in themselves. The program is a great example of how we empower our students to be leaders. And lastly, a special mention to our 3rd graders and Mr. Menezes, our music teacher. The Veterans Day concert was an unforgettable moment when our students honored our nation's heroes through music and performances. The respect, gratitude, and pride they showed for our veterans was truly moving. Our students took time to learn about the history and sacrifices of those who served, and through their concert, they expressed their thanks in a way that was heartfelt and powerful. It was a beautiful reminder of the importance of community, service, and honoring those who have dedicated their lives to protecting our freedoms. In closing, I am incredibly proud of everything that our students, family, and staff have accomplished so far this year. From cross-grade level connections to supporting those in need,
10
empowering
seconds.
our girls, and honoring veterans, Marshall Elementary is truly a place where kindness and collaboration shine. I'm so proud and thankful to be a part of this wonderful environment, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Jenny Gray?
Hello, members of the board. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jenny George, and this is my 21st
My
year.
apologies.
It's okay, I know. It's my 21st year here in Talawanda School District. My first 16 years were spent as a teacher of students with multiple disabilities at Talawanda Middle School, and for the past 5 years, I have led Class 23 program here at the high school. The reason that I stand before you tonight is to share a bit about that program and call attention to the reasons that make it so valuable and why I'm so thankful for it. Class 23 is a program designed for students aged 18 to 22 with disabilities. We focus on creating employability experiences that carry over into real-life work. Along with the employability practice, my students practice life skills that allow them to become independent adults, as well as leisure skills which allow them to experience the wonderful community in which we live. Many people here have probably seen us out and about. Kathy Mabus, a paraprofessional that I work alongside, and I create job placements throughout the community where students hone in on work. Hanover Reserve Event Space, Animal Care Clinic, the Hampton Inn, Woodland Manor Nursing and Rehabilitation, Prime Fitness, the City of Oxford, McCullough Hyde, Tri-Health Hospital, Starbucks, and Tops Food Pantry are a few local businesses that provide us with a backdrop in which to learn. Here at THS, my students run a coffee shop called The Perfect Blend. 2 mornings a week, we serve beverages to any student and staff that would like to purchase a hot chocolate or a coffee. My students plan the drinks and make the drinks. They take the money and make the change. But what happens on the coffee shop days is so much more than that, more than just an exchange of money for goods. Teachers spend time with their students outside the classroom forming crucial rapport. Students and staff form bonds with the class 23 members, oftentimes just stopping by to check in and chat. It's a perfect blend of the whole school coming together over coffee, which is reason to be thankful. All of the above mentioned endeavors fill our days, but what is most meaningful about Class 23 are the people that treat us as trusted employees and as friends throughout the community. Coworkers that know my students are not only capable, but excellent workers, coworkers that are happy to see us each week and know that my students could become lifelong workers at any workplace. Our community partnerships and the trust that the administration puts into the program is really something for which to be thankful. Our community and the district takes an often overlooked group of people and gives them a platform to thrive. Class 23 gets the opportunity to sprinkle joy and pride everywhere we go, but without the wonderful people with whom we work, the program wouldn't exist. Many thanks to our community partners for seeing my students as the outstanding people they really are. Many thanks to the administration for trusting me to grow my program and to do something that most other
10
schools
seconds.
do not do. And lastly, many thanks to the board for allowing me to extend my gratitude publicly here tonight so that the community can hear about the many good things that are happening here at Talawanda.
Thank you. Amelia Oberschlake.
Good evening. I am Amelia Oberschlake. I teach 6th grade science at TMS, and I am also the head high school and middle school cross-country coach. I would like to speak on behalf of the successes of the middle school fall athletics teams, along with the high school cross-country teams. Some of the highlights of the middle school include Coach Zimmerman, the middle school football coach, asked the athletes to write a note to a past or present teacher or staff member who was influential in the player's life to invite them to attend the final home game and wear the athlete's jersey. This game was highly attended and appreciated very much by the individuals on the receiving end of the notes and jerseys. Shout out to Coach Z and the football team for such a thoughtful gesture. The staff really enjoyed cheering on the football players, especially the 8th grade team, as they closed out their season with a 7-1 record. The 7th and 8th grade volleyball coaches and Miss Klink, our middle school athletic director, organized the TMS Volley for a Cure, where they were able to recognize and honor numerous family and community members who have battled cancer, along with raising $150 to donate to Luna Cares. The girls on both the 7th and 8th grade team finished the season as SWAC runner-up with some really amazing performances by both teams throughout the season. The middle school cross-country team consisted of 17 very dedicated athletes, 9 girls and 8 boys. Throughout the season, the teams made huge strides, learning to work together and push each other, not only to be the best for the team, but individually as well. Both middle school boys and girls were SWAC runner-up and took the top 7 from each team to compete at the state meet. On top of all of their accomplishments, they took the time to help TMS with their walkathon, raising money to send to Water for South Sudan. The high school cross-country teams were made up of 28 hardworking, driven athletes, 14 girls and 14 boys. The boys were SWAC champion, with Bryson Fears earning SWAC Runner of the Year. The team placed 3rd in a very difficult district led by Garrison Franks, which qualified them to regionals as a full team. At regionals, the boys placed 14th and were led by Max Bixler, followed by Bryson Fears and Fletcher Rodborough. The girls were also SWAC champions, with Adriana Luking being SWAC Runner of the Year. At districts, the girls placed 3rd, moving a whole team to regionals, with Lucia Rodborough breaking the 39-year-old school record. The girls placed 1st in the region. Winning the region has never been done in Talawanda cross country. This advanced the girls' team to the state meet. At the state meet, the girls placed 4th overall and were the smallest D1 team in the top 15. The 4th place team makes them the most accomplished cross-country team in Talawanda history. In addition to the team's success at the state meet, Lucia Rodborough and Adriana Luking received all-state honors by finishing in the top 20 individuals.
10 seconds.
Thank you to the school district and community for all of your support.
Thank you. Molly Todd.
Good evening. My name is Molly Todd, and I'm a resident of Oxford. Tonight, I am here to speak as a TMS teacher. On social media, I recently saw a post that said, "Being a teacher is so hard because you want to encourage exuberance and enthusiasm, but you also need order and listening. You want your kids to know you value their voice, but you also need them to stop talking. You want to be nurturing and empathetic, but you also want them to be independent and resilient. Every single day is a challenge to strike the right balance in so many different ways. The colleagues I work with take on this daily challenge and do it with ease and excellence. Here are some highlights of our excellent TMS teachers. This year's 2024 NAACP Diversity Educator Award was TMS's own Ms. Fryer. Mrs. Green and Mrs. Brosey organized the Brave Shop on Fridays with new and exciting items for students to purchase with their Brave Bucks. Mr. Brink's Fishing Club fished 18 times this fall, with 20 to 25 students attending each time at no cost to the students. Mrs. Otto and the Brave Buck Committee organized a Brave Buck Day at the end of first quarter. Almost 400 students participated in a variety of activities, including trick-or-treating around TMS, an ice cream party, a donut party, and watching a movie with popcorn. Mrs. Ziffel continued the tradition of the school-wide read. Students received a copy of the book, A Long Walk to Water, and teachers read aloud a section to every class period over the course of 3 days. Then, TMS held a walkathon to raise funds for Water for South Sudan. The walkathon raised $1,500. On Thursdays, Ms. Fitzgerald and her students bake a special treat for the staff that is delivered on the TMS snack cart. Now our excellent students. For the first quarter, 433 students earned a 3.2 or better. Of the 433 students, 166 earned a 4.0. In science, sixth graders concluded their energy unit by building roller coasters. Students used their knowledge of potential and kinetic energy to build roller coasters using pool noodles and tissue boxes, and then their builds competed in various challenges. In sixth grade social studies, students finished their geography unit and created their own lands, showing the physical geography on maps while writing about the human geography in brochures. How about a trip to Sport Lauderdale, where Joe Burrow was elected president, and you can visit Cowboys Canyon? In sixth grade ELA, students made presentations around the topic, Ingredients for Success, and presented on personal goals. Some personal goals included improving their grades, improving their swim times, and my personal favorite, learning to knit a blanket for their grandma. And finally, thank you to the TMS parents. Thank you to the parents who donated lemonade to sixth grade math classes so students could taste test lemonade as they explored ratios. Thank you to the parents who donated supplies for the TMS Brave Buck Day and food for conference meals. Thank you to the parents who purchased items off TMS teachers' Amazon wish lists. And thank you to the parents who received phone calls about our TMS help sessions and talk with their children about their missing assignments. We could not do it without you. Thank you, TMS staff, families, and students.
Thank you. Ted Caudill, right? I think I skipped over Tracy Lakes there. I'm sorry, Tracy. Would you mind going after Ted? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Ted Caudill, teacher, TEA co-president. I wanted to speak to the board tonight about the growth and leadership I have witnessed at Talawanda High School over a quarter century. I came to Talawanda in 1999. Back then, the state of Ohio had just begun implementing graduation testing with what was known as the proficiency test. We were a high school that ranked in the continuous improvement category, which was third out of 5 categories, which is to say we were very average. Our graduation rate was sitting around 84%. I give Phil Cagwin and Kelly Spivey, past superintendents, along with multiple school boards, credit in doing the hard work of building a strong high school, today the #1 high school in Butler County. They retained and hired good teachers, created a collegial and supportive atmosphere. They supported teachers, they invested in people and programs like High Schools That Work, which provided money and innovative ideas on how to improve student achievement. By 2005, the proficiency test had been replaced by the old OGT, the Ohio Graduation Test. And in that year, the Ohio Department of Education and Workplace reported that Talawanda High School met 11 of 12 standards and was ranked as, quote, excellent, which was the highest possible category. By 2011 and 2012, Talawanda High School had met 12 of 12 standards and was again ranked excellent and had improved the graduation rate to a 96%. Personally, my family and I moved to Oxford Township in 2013. We had been living in Germantown, Ohio since the year 2000, and we frankly really liked it there. I have 3 kids. They attended elementary school at Valley View School District. They were involved in youth athletics and scouting. I was coaching youth sports, a member of the Lions Club, and attending St. Anthony's Church there. We were invested in the community. But we decided to make the move to Oxford Township for one reason and one reason only. In 2012, Valley View decided to cut elementary art. That's a basic program. Funding around the state was difficult from 2012 to 2014, and my youngest child loved art. Cutting that wasn't just belt tightening, that was cutting the bone. It was at that time that my wife and I decided to move here. The only reason we decided to move was because we wanted our children to be at Talawanda. Talawanda could do things that Valley View just could not. Talawanda helped prepare all 3 of my kids for life after high school. Moving here was the best decision I could have ever made for my own children and for their futures. The teachers, EAs, support staff, and administrators here put kids first. We have an excellent school district. I've seen it, I've lived it, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm especially proud this year. This year, our Ohio State report card has ranked Talawanda as the #1 high school in Butler County with an overall rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars, a graduation rate of 98.1%, and 25% of our students are qualifying for honors diplomas.
10
One of the
seconds.
best kept secrets in public education is that it's working, and at Talawanda High School, it's working well. I am honored to work with such caring, compassionate, and hardworking people. Happy Thanksgiving, and go Brave.
Thank you. All right, Tracy Lakes, and again, my apologies for not ticking off here as I went along.
Hello, I am Tracy Lakes, a new 6th grade teacher at TMS. I would like to take a moment to express my heartfelt thanks for the warm welcome I have received since joining the Talawanda District. It is truly an honor to be here, and I'm excited to be part of a community that values education, collaboration, and student success. From the moment that I have arrived, I have been inspired by the dedication each staff member at TMS has towards making the district a great place for students, teachers, and staff. I would like to take a few minutes to reflect on some of the things that I have observed that have refilled my heart and hopes for education. At the beginning of November, the Student Council hosted the annual Fall Festival. As the new Student Council advisor, this was a huge undertaking. The veteran teachers at TMS all chipped in to make this event great. I was blown away by the number of teachers who volunteered to chaperone kids, run booths with clubs and organizations, and donated materials. We even had several organizations from the high school donate their time to run booths for our middle school students. Our 6th grade parents also stepped up and donated 2 liters for the ring toss at the Fall Fest. This booth raised $500 that goes toward our annual 6th grade trip to Glen Helen. The generosity of the staff and families was heartwarming. This past week, the success of our recent intergenerational book club, which brought together students, teachers, and members of the local community in a meaningful way, was amazing. The group fostered engaging conversations across generations, allowing students to gain unique perspectives from older participants while also contributing their own insights. This exchange of ideas not only enhanced the students' critical thinking skills, but also helped build stronger connections between the school and the community. The book selected, Misfits by James Howe, sparked thoughtful discussions on various themes, and the collaborative nature of the group created an inclusive, supportive environment for all participants. Overall, the experience was a resounding success, and we look forward to continuing this valuable initiative in the future. Our next book and meeting will be in February. I know my students are super excited to find out what we are reading next. Changing school districts after 23 years is not for the faint of heart, but I know that I have found my home at Talawanda. While education can be a changing environment right now, the staff at TMS feels like a family. Even though there are numerous teaching styles in the building, it is clear we all are working together. We value each other and the contributions that we make toward our students and each other on a daily basis. From fish fry potluck lunches on PD Day, to PTG organized meals on conference
10
nights,
seconds.
to staff and student spirit weeks, and the daily and weekly collaboration that happens with the grade level teams and departments. The teachers at TMS go out of their way to create an environment where staff, students all feel safe and look forward to walking in the door each day.
Thank you. All right, Barb Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Barb Hamilton. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Kramer, and I am one of the advisors for the Kramer K-Kids group along with Amy Clay. K-Kids is a Kiwanis group that supports leadership and community service in the 4th and 5th grade members. At Kramer, we have 30 members. 50 kids signed up, but we had to limit our group because of logistics. I think it says a lot about our Talawanda kids that they are interested in ways to become engaged in and give back to their community. In addition to Kramer K-Kids, there are K-Kids groups at Marshall and Bogan. On behalf of all 3 schools, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to the Talawanda Elementary families for their generous contributions to this year's Kiwanis Food Drive. Together, we collected more than 920 pounds of food, including 400 boxes of cereal. These donations were delivered directly to the Talawanda Oxford Food Pantry, providing much-needed support to our local community. The partnership between the Kiwanis and K-Kids exemplifies the strong community connections that enrich the lives of our students. Beyond K-Kids, Oxford Kiwanis has supported a project in my classroom, which is a multi-generational pen pal project. Through this initiative, my 4th graders are paired with senior citizen pen pals, and we exchange letters throughout the year. This project provides a meaningful and authentic opportunity for students to practice reading and writing cursive handwriting. I wish I could share with you the joy and excitement my students felt earlier this week when they opened their first letters from their pen pals. For some of them, it was the first time they ever had the opportunity to open an envelope. It's moments like these that highlight the value of community connections. Kiwanis funds have helped pay for the postage and for the end of the year celebration in which the pen pals meet each other. Again, this connection to community means so much to our young people. I feel incredibly fortunate to witness the positive impact that relationships have on our young people. I am deeply grateful to our community members and Talawanda families who make these programs possible, and I look forward to the continued success of these partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Reedy.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Reedy, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Kramer Elementary. It is my privilege to stand before you this evening to share some of the remarkable learning taking place at Kramer. Our kindergarten littles just finished family turkey projects. This is a decades-long tradition that displays creativity, collaboration, and such pride within each student. Our kindergartners' literacy skills are soaring. Students are making connections with texts, sharing with partners, and learning new skills with confidence. Our 1st graders are already delving into the concept of fractions as part of Number Corner, and in ELA, they are honing their writing skills by composing book reviews while expanding their vocabulary. Students are also participating in Dino School, a program led by Miami interns. This weekly initiative fosters growth in self-regulation, social skills, study habits, and problem solving. Moving on to 2nd grade, it is safe to say that our 2nd graders are on fire. In math, they're exploring multiple strategies to solve problems while also engaging in collaborative math games that reinforce not only their mathematical understanding, but also vital skills like teamwork, turn-taking, and good sportsmanship. In science, 2nd graders are uncovering the invisible forces that shape our world, like air currents, magnetic forces, and sound waves. In 3rd grade, our educators are seamlessly integrating science and social studies into the ELA curriculum. Students are exploring the foundations of our government, gaining an understanding of Congress, the Constitution, and the fundamental principles that guide our nation. As the holiday season approaches, 3rd graders are eagerly anticipating the annual tradition of building gingerbread houses. Now, to share some exciting news from 4th grade, we are thrilled to welcome Mrs. Angela Jones to our Kramer family. Mrs. Jones is a wonderful addition to our 4th grade team. In science, 4th graders are actively engaged in hands-on experiments, learning about circuits, switches, and the properties of conductors and insulators. In ELA, students are reading a historical fiction novel set in 1812, told from the perspective of 2 12-year-old boys living among the settlers in the Miamia tribe. And now for my personal favorite, 5th grade. Our 5th graders have just completed reading a complex Newbery Award-winning novel, engaging deeply with its themes and literary elements. In social studies, students have been exploring the democratic process through the lens of our own Kramer student government. Each student had the opportunity to run for a position, creating posters, writing speeches, and even participating in a debate moderated by their peers during lunch. Finally, the students cast their ballots in an official election, giving them a hands-on understanding of the voting process and responsibilities that come with citizenship. It's truly a joy to see the enthusiasm and growth happening across all grade levels here at Kramer. I'm proud to work alongside such a dedicated team of educators who are fostering not only academic excellence, but also social and emotional growth in our students. Together, we are shaping the future one student at a time.
Thank you. Stephanie Pearson.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Pearson, Oxford resident, Talawanda parent, and I want to acknowledge our board for educating and upholding its legal responsibility to simultaneously respect the individual rights of each member served in the community while also balancing the ever-present diversity of those viewpoints. I stand here before you as an Oxford resident, a Talawanda parent, and a teacher in the district. As a member of this community, I want to remind us all that reactionary impressions often require reconsideration. Considering we are the #1 high school in Butler County, and as a district, we have a lot to be thankful for. I am thankful for my coworkers for these past 20 years. I currently get to teach in 3 buildings. I see the time and effort teachers in those buildings put into creating welcoming and a rigorous learning environment. I'm also thankful for the community of educators for my children. My kids know they have safe adults who care for them academically and personally. My son's 2nd grade co-teachers implement and execute the state and board-approved curricula as professionals and masters of their craft. They challenge my son as a reader, a writer, and a mathematical thinker. He is excited to go to school, his creativity is fostered, and I am excited to see the expository writing that he'll bring home soon. My daughter is in 4th grade. The texts that she's reading in class are complex and thought-provoking. The curricular emphasis on writing is a research-based approach that makes reading more meaningful. We can all reflect on how much concentration, organization, and executive functioning it takes to compose thoughts and write them in a way that conveys the message you want to send. I am grateful that my daughter is developing these skills now through the modeling from her teacher. I went to Miami in 2001, and I never left. I love Oxford, and I still choose to invest in my community here. This area offers a lot of educational choices, but I'm thankful that we chose Talawanda. Nights like Uptown Trick or Treat, the summer concert series, or a simple trip to the grocery store all show the kind of a community that our school district can help create, and district employees are a part of that community. I'm thankful that Talawanda invests in the future of our kids. Thank you to all of my kids' teachers over the years who model empathy and lifelong learning. Thank you, Talawanda Board, for balancing state mandates on limited funding, brain research, the responsibility of family versus school, and the wide range of needs for so many students while still creating an opportunity for kids to learn if they choose to. My sentiments are true tonight. They were true last month, and they were true last year. As someone who has children in these schools, I don't want our district upended. The Pearson family is thankful to you all.
Thank you. Scotty King.
Scotty King, Darktown, Ohio. Ed, I'm guessing this is the list of teachers that's going to get double-digit raises this year too, right? And I'm just glad, though, that these teachers are staying off of TikTok. So, and they're using this platform. It's pretty nice, and you should congratulate them for that. But today I'm going to speak about how communication seems to be controlled and not dispersed by our superintendent. Ed filters and scrubs information that's sent to TSD families, TSD families, and even the school board members. As my wife spoke about at the work session last week, she was not informed of the drug deal that took place at the middle school in which a teacher provided a fanny pack to the student selling to keep him to conceal the smell of marijuana. This stated in the OPD police report, as you have already seen. Is the teacher being investigated by TSD? Question for you. What is going on with the high school teacher who posted the hateful and bigotry comments on her personal TikTok account? That was filmed at the desk in this school. Again, she looks to have violated multiple policies within the district, which apparently I don't know why Mike even reads them because nobody follows them. So it is okay though, right? Because she's politically aligned and pushes your political agenda, Ed, and partially the board members. There seems to be no politics. There should be no politics in school. And I wish the trash for the superintendent to be covered up. With this, sorry. I believe we have football players who have been expelled for the social media post that was made outside of school, but I guess that student must be held to a higher standard than our teachers. This all stems from the lack of leadership, a school board that is ineffective due to the lack of communication that is received from Ed. The board is elected, Ed is appointed. It is time for our elected officials to be given accurate and detailed communication from our superintendent and not to be shuffled to the side so that he can continue his personal agenda. This isn't political to hold people accountable to our school board. This falls on you. Ed can't go anywhere now since he's been tied up in the federal lawsuit involving Paul Stiver. Another TSD employee and teacher left unchecked, and in my opinion, it was unfortunate that we're stuck with the trash for the superintendent because he covered up with Stiver's situation, because the TSD is now getting sued. Hell, I have already presented facts that show this. He is and is applying to multiple school districts, and obviously wasn't their chosen candidate. I hear Butler Tech needs a superintendent. Maybe, Pat, you could put in a good word for him. I'll write you a letter of recommendation myself. So many parallels with the middle school teacher situation and the grooming that Stiver did with the students of the same age.
10
It
seconds.
would be nice for the board to update the district on the status of the federal lawsuit that we're currently in. And like Stiver, our superintendent is apparently suppressing another predator teacher. Thank you.
Mike C. Catch. Is he not here? Oh, there he is. Sorry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Seacoch, 2004 Talawanda alum, currently reside in Hanover Township. I have two children, one who attends Bogan Elementary, which we love, and one who attends a private high school in Butler County, who is thriving academically, athletically, and socially. I'm here to talk about teacher accountability, but I feel like that accountability went out the window when I received that email yesterday. You guys have made your decision. All I did was share a video, 2 hateful videos made by one of your educators. I'm not so mad about the first video that was filmed in her classroom. As a father of 2 daughters, I'm extremely upset of the second video of her speaking out of her term to young women of childbearing age. That could be a 10-year-old girl. It's disgusting. And this is what we have in our classroom today. If you looked at my post of my share, the dozens of students and family members thanking me for this because they were afraid of retaliation. Retaliation from the board, retaliation from this teacher as well. That tells me all I need to know about this school. I can't believe that they are afraid to come forward because of retaliation. I don't think I need to explain to this board basically the influence that a teacher has over a child. When I was in high school, I had Coach Krause. Coach Doug Krause was a mentor to me, and no disrespect to my own father, but almost a father figure to myself. If Coach Krause asked me to jump off a bridge, I probably would have done it. That is the type of influence that these teachers have over these children. I'm upset with that second video because that second video was actually shared from a student to a parent. So it might be her personal account, but students are on there. I would challenge the board to find out if she is mingling with these students, who she's friends with, and what rhetoric is actually going to them. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, I know firsthand of why parents aren't wanting to come forward. I'm now receiving hateful letters at my home addressing my wife's name, my kids' names. I live at the top of Gardner Hill. I'm not hard to find, all right? I put in a public records request after I got these hateful letters. And in these public record requests, I had an individual by the name of Stephanie, who I graduated with. I found out she was one of the people that sent a letter to my home asking that the school board ban me and my entire family from all Talawanda home and away events. I don't need to tell everybody in this room
10
how many
seconds.
years me and my wife have mentored hundreds of kids here, football, cheerleading, currently wrestling.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
your time is up, sir. Thank you. Art Sauerwein.
Art Sauerwein, 1723 Serenity Hill Lane, Hanover Township. I'm a heavy tax-paying customer here for you guys. Appreciate your budgets there and the way you're spending our money. We definitely need some help on the tax end. 43 years ago, I started a business in Hanover Township. And after about 20 years of law enforcement, retiring, we're leaving the Butler County Sheriff's Office after 20 years, being a commander in under 5 divisions. I feel compelled to come here and talk to you guys tonight. Over the past year, I've observed teacher Jennifer Wade and associates heckling Republican events, and then with her fake Facebook account, which I see seems to be a problem in the district, Jennifer Jingle, AKA, harassing the same, which has had my attention. Then along came the classroom video of Danielle Mann having a meltdown over safe spaces, asking people to wear blue bracelets, and I quote, the orange bag of puke. All this in a desperate, erratic, mental state. She was trying to identify men and their addresses, which would lead me to be scared of her capabilities. Not to mention that she is an authority figure, being a teacher of children within her community. She is therefore held to a higher standard of accountability. All this has caused me to start a Facebook page for our community called Citizens for Our Children. Building over 430 members in about a week, it has opened a floodgate of private messages from parents thanking me. They're also terrified of retaliation from you and teachers against their children if they make themselves known. This is unacceptable. This is politics at your table. I can't imagine this all happening under your leadership. Children in your school should not be afraid to have an opinion. Safe space. I can't imagine what would happen if a student unknowingly wore a red bracelet or a red watch band to Danielle Mann's class, because obviously she identifies colors by blue and all the other things she talked about.
10 seconds.
I'd like some answers from you guys, because we're going to be around, and we will see you at the voting polls.
Thank you. We're at the end of this first page. I do want to continue on. I want everybody to have their voice. I will ask if anybody is willing to wait until next month in the interest of time. Just let me know if I say your name and you're willing to wait or pass. Just let me know, okay? Ann Wengler, I think she said she was going to pass, right? Okay. Dustin LeMay.
Hello, I'm Dustin LeMay, Hanover Township. With so much negative attention being shined on the Talawanda School District, I feel this is as appropriate of a time as ever to share some positives. On September 23rd, my daughter experienced a medical emergency prior to first bell. We were fortunate enough that Miss Hess was in the hallway and was observant enough to know something was off with my daughter. She immediately sprung into action and escorted my daughter to the nurse's clinic. It wasn't long after they set her down she began seizing. The patience and care shown by the nurse was amazing. The calmness Mr. Davey had in a stressful situation was also reassuring. I believe these individuals deserve to be acknowledged for their positive actions. Without them, this serious situation could have been a lot worse. I would also like to take the time to acknowledge our athletic director, Jake Richardson, and varsity wrestling coach, Andrew Merrill. Last January, Ohio became the 33rd state to sanction girls wrestling as a high school sport. We were fortunate enough at Talawanda to have 2 very talented freshman girls to help pioneer the way for future girl wrestlers. One girl finished 3rd in OAC state last year, wrestling girls from all over the state. She also finished 3rd in SWAC wrestling against the boys. The other girl was very competitive throughout the season, had several wins against boys, so they weren't fortunate enough to wrestle girls the entire time. Mr. Richardson and Coach Andrew have made it a point to ensure these girls are given the same treatment as the boys and have the same opportunity to wrestle in the end-of-year state tournament. It is my hopes that the board will officially recognize girls wrestling as a sport of Talawanda. What this will do is this will help grow the sport. It is the fastest growing sport in the state of Ohio right now. It would also allow us to recruit participation from other student athletes who are female, who may be afraid to wrestle because right now they have to wrestle the boys during practices. So with that said, I want to give a sincere thanks to those who I've mentioned, and as much as I'm up here, I'll be the first one to criticize people if something goes wrong. I'll also be the first one to thank them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ann Dittman.
I will be back in December to talk about what I want to do, but I'd like to thank the teachers today that spoke. However, I have a question. Why now? We have each school that does a presentation to the board. We've had athletic presentations. Some of the information tonight was repeated, but that's okay, that's their right. I question if it's coincidental that all went almost exactly 3 minutes. And I believe we had exactly 10 sign up. That's the 30 minutes that you're normally allotted to speakers. So I have a suggestion to the board. Let's have a teacher Thanksgiving presentation next year so we can have more time, because so many of them were racing to get that 3 minutes in. And some of them, we missed their message because they were racing. So let's have a Thanksgiving presentation night so they can say thank you. Or let's have it at every meeting, because I'm sure many of these won't be at the next 3, 4, 5 meetings. I feel it was somewhat rude and unfair to the taxpayers that don't get the opportunity to speak or that feel they have to pass now because we had other speakers. So that's my suggestion. Let's have a Thanksgiving presentation by the teachers, or have more of them come, like when we have school presentations. But again, I thank those that spoke, and I thank the board, as always, for your service. I'm thankful that you're here, too, and I'm thankful that you allow us to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz, do you have something to say? No, you're on the second page here. You're coming up. Sure. Do you want me to go ahead and take you off the list? Okay, will do. Mike Dittman.
Good evening, Mike Dittman, Hanover Township. I would have passed, but with the large group we have here, I think my comments will be absorbed by some of those folks who normally aren't here. And it's great to see more employees at the meeting. Normally we have no one here unless they're making a presentation, so it's good to see all the extra people. I've been attending these board meetings for 16 years with my wife. My message has always been to challenge the board and the staff to be financially responsible. I might add, with little success, but I keep trying. Over the past 2 years, I pointed out that our administrator's average salary increased 26% from fiscal year 20 to 22. This year, even with these past high increases, the board approved raising salaries of all the administrators. And you didn't bring back busing to help the children and the families. So you continue to disregard the fact that Talawanda spends more per pupil than any other similar district in this county by far. Talawanda spends $14,456. Ross spends $12,789. Edgewood and Monroe are even lower. This shows that we're spending approximately $5 million more based on our 3,000 students than these other districts are. So talking about adding extra costs now, just because there appears to be more money, doesn't seem to be a good way to go. And I think one step to lower costs would be to implement grade banding, which was suggested at a savings of $400,000 to $500,000 a year. And just because we have a balance doesn't mean we need to spend it. We need to be wise with spending and look to the future. Don't just take it now. Again, thank you all for serving, and thank you for letting us speak.
Thank you. Steve Schnabel. Pass? Okay, thanks, Steve. Sally Southard.
Good evening. I'm Sally Southard, Redbud Trace in Oxford. I speak with concern with efforts to challenge the Talawanda curriculum and testing. I come as a parent, once active in PTA, kindergarten through 12th grade, of 3 children, now adults, doing very successfully, thanks to Talawanda. I speak also as a person with an experience as an elected member of the Talawanda School Board, the Butler County School Board, and the State of Ohio's School Board. In the 10 years that I served, I was responsible, with 21 others at that time, it would be 15 now, sadly, deciding what to be recommending to the state representatives of what should be the expectations for staff that would be teachers and administrators, what they would need to know and be able to do, and also for what it would take to graduate from an Ohio high school. Challenged very much, as in all 50 states while I was on the State Board of Education, was President Reagan's concern that nationally we were losing the concern, the ability to be certain that our students would be prepared to enter a new world, one that would be challenged by countries such as India and Korea, much of Asia, which was dedicating themselves. But of course, they were having a very homogeneous, in general, population. The State Board, with 50 other states, took the challenge seriously. We researched over my 10 years of what would be best to be able to improve learning, and saw immediately that it had to be with gradually doing testing, first of teachers, to be certain that they were prepared, and then of students. To determine what it was that they should be prepared for, we initiated a survey of over 2 million Ohioans of what should a 9th grader know. Our testing was done at the level of 9th grade for the very purpose that we knew we had to increase the requirements and expectations in the high schools. I want to commend Talawanda. I think your rating as the best high school in Butler County is just extraordinary.
10 seconds.
I thank you for where you have been, where you're going, and I urge you to stay with what you're doing. The data that you are gaining from these tests are helping to improve individual student learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Romano.
Tom Romano, 104 West Bull Run here in Oxford. I'm retired from Miami University. From 1995 to 2018, I taught students who wanted to become high school and middle school English teachers. I'm going to read my statement tonight, even though I just learned earlier that the issue has been resolved. I want to say some words about Talawanda High School English teacher Danielle Mann, who is on administrative leave for her conduct after the recent election as she's being investigated. I watched the video that she made. I don't know where or when it was shot. I do know I saw a woman in distress. She appeared distraught by her fears about the climate of abuse and misogyny that girls and women might face in the years ahead. Ms. Mann did not name a politician or a political party. She did not rant or lie or belittle. She expressed deep concern for the safety of girls and women. She gave an opinion, which the Talawanda School Board recognizes as a constitutional right. As a taxpayer in the Talawanda district, I don't want any employee to espouse in their classrooms a political party or candidate or religion. In school, students are free to pray anytime they want and believe the politics that they want. I don't, however, want public school employees to proselytize for any political party or religion. I do want teachers to be knowledgeable about their subject area and how children and adolescents learn. I do want teachers to be humane and respectful and on guard for the welfare of those they teach. I believe Danielle Mann embodies those qualities. She's taught at Talawanda High School for decades now. Were my adolescent granddaughters residents of our district, I would welcome that they have Ms. Mann for their English teacher. I'm glad to learn she will be returning to her classroom to teach students to read and write and think.
Thank you. Genevieve O'Malley Knight.
Hello, I'm Genevieve O'Malley Knight, Talawanda class of 2000, resident of Oxford on Sandra Drive, and parent of 2 children currently in Talawanda. I am here to share a statement that was written by my friend and neighbor, Megan Kuykendall. She lives on Dana Drive and is currently traveling for a conference for work, and she asked me to read her words tonight. So Megan's words are, essentially, I wanted to share that the purpose of public education is so that we can be good community members, neighbors, and citizens. It is not meant to just parrot the beliefs of one particular kind or type of family or group. We cannot prioritize any one religious, moral, or other framework. We instead must prioritize being good humans to each other. We cannot teach our kids to be bullies and threaten others just because they believe something different than us. Currently, we see parents and others continue to bully people online and threaten their jobs, their families, and even their lives. We have to do better, and we do that with kindness. All children deserve to know that they will still have community if they are gay, trans, or any other identity that people choose to demonize. Public school is for learning with care and community, not for targeting people according to the discriminatory beliefs of any group or system. And I, Genevieve, that ended Megan's words, I, Genevieve, want to add that I'm so thankful for how well Talawanda has been doing that while my kids have been here in school. And as a quick new topic, I want to thank and congratulate the THS Drama Club, director, and all the volunteers. They put on a wonderful show of Alice in Wonderland. It was a great show. It's a really great program. Not only provides amazing enrichment to the attendees, but a great opportunity for responsibility. My kid now knows more about that light board than pretty much anybody employed by Talawanda. And I really look forward to the spring show, whether the kids choose Clue or Little Shop of Horrors. And I hope everybody comes to attend because they do a great job with pretty shoestring contributions. and it fosters creativity, and they're pretty great. Thank you.
Thank you. To me, Sirenstrack. It does pass. And Tomoko Brown? And pass. All right, and that is the end of the list. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your ideas, your thoughts, your concerns. We appreciate your participation. All right, we are going to wrap up our next two sections here.
Might as well give them time to leave.
I'm talking.
Yeah.
Cold. I know, it's ready to put my coat on.
If we could please exit a little quieter if you're leaving, please do so a little quietly so we can finish the rest of our meeting. So, thank you. All right, we're moving on to item 6, the report of the treasurer. We're going to take out 6A, which is the approval of the November 14th, 2024 work session minutes, because we have one member who wasn't here. So, do I have a motion to approve the following minutes as presented for the November 14th, 2024 work session?
So moved. I'm sorry, who was the first?
They were simultaneous?
Okay. Mrs. King it is.
And you're second, who's seconding?
I did, Mr. Wyatt.
Okay, you second, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Tefelsky, please call the vote.
Mrs. King? Yes. Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Abstain.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes. Now we're blocking items 6B through 6H. That is approval of minutes for the October 17th, 2024 regular meeting, approval of gifts, approval of appropriation modifications, approval of then and now over $3,000, approval of financial report for October 2024, approval of the federal state program funds, and approval of the 5-year forecast. Do I have a motion to approve items 6B through 6H?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
Well, again, Shauna, the financial reports look really good. I had a question about the federal budget paper. This is something we do every year, right?
This is a newer requirement, yes, that we just report on what we are receiving for our federal funds.
After the COVID money, what percent of our budget comes from the federal government?
Ooh, I'd have to do some quick math.
5%, 20%?
Oh, less.
3%?
We're receiving about $1.3 million.
All right. Do you know what area it supports?
2 or 3.
Yes, it's Title I, IDEA, our special ed programs, our early childhood special ed, teacher, high-quality teacher education.
Okay.
So, I mean, literally, it is right here, our child nutrition cluster, that is the 006 fund. We are anticipating receiving $796,000 this year. Title III money that is received through the ESC, that's $8,100. I've listed, even though I'm not required to, I listed the Bureau of Workers' Comp grant that was written, $30,000. IDEA Part B, this is our special ed program. This is our largest one each year, and it averages about $656,000. We use it to support our teachers and their fringe benefit as far as their retirement, their Medicare, and their health benefits.
For special ed, right?
Special ed,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
And then we've got Title I, we have Title I-D. Early childhood special ed is nominal at just about $20,000. And Title IV is one that is, sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. It's been pretty consistent since COVID, but there was a time when we had lost that for about 5 years. It was not just Talawanda that had lost it, it was the entire state of Ohio and all the other states
Okay.
within.
But overall, it's less than 2% of our budget.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion? All right, Ms. Tefelsky, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Informational items?
Oh, so during the work session, we listened to two companies who presented and discussed the high school turf field. So this is something that we will be bringing forth to the December board meeting to have the board vote on one or the other.
And are you going to bring a recommendation, or so you and Mr. Richardson are?
We will get together. I will put everything, because it's not truly apples to apples, it's two different products that they were discussing as far as the makeup of the field and the actual fibers that are using. It is not an apples to apples comparison. So I will get with Jake and we will line everything up. I will email that to you all so that you can see it, but then we will be putting forth our recommendations as to which one to choose and why.
And as part of that process, if the board then has a discussion and, decides that we don't like your recommendation,
then
we can move to the next one.
You vote it down and we would bring forth the other one.
Okay.
I apologize for missing that meeting. I would like to suggest we videotape those work sessions, just in case. I mean, so the public can see what was discussed there. Also, it would have helped me to be able to go back and watch it all. I did get the paperwork, though, but I had family emergency. I'm sorry I missed it, but hopefully reading it, I can understand it.
We've
Get
had
together with me, I will, I'll give you a rundown.
The issue about videotaping in the video center is the lack of the ability of the equipment. So we can do it, but it needs to be in here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's a conversation to have if we schedule another work session, because we gain the ability to stream it, to record it, but we lose the closeness, the conversational nature of the media center, which I value a lot in work sessions, because those are conversational, they're not decision-making. So we would just, before we have another work session, I think we can kind of
We
talk
can
about
see
that.
each other without cricking our necks.
And seeing each other without cricking our necks, I know. Like,
I would recommend, if you have questions, reach out to us.
I will.
Shauna, myself.
Definitely.
I've already talked to Jake. He has an idea of where he wants to go. But this is the good time to look at it, digest it,
Right.
ask those questions so that you can make it.
Great. Thank you. Anything else?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the report of the superintendent. This is item 7. We are blocking items 7A through G. 7A is approval, 7A1, approval of amendment of certificated licensed personnel contracts. That's just one. 7B, sorry, I'm working with a different sheet now. 7B1, acceptance of resignations of classified personnel. 7B2, a limited employment non-teaching employee contract. 7B3, approval of substitute classified staff employees. 7C1, approval of a supplemental contract. 7C2, rescission of a supplemental contract. 7D is approval of nutritional standards. 7E is approval of increase of classified substitute hourly rate. 7F, approval of consultant contracts for direct evaluation, consultant/school psychologists. And 7G is the second reading and approval of the new policy 5330.02, which is the procurement and use of epinephrine auto-injectors in emergency situations. Do I have a motion to approve items 7A, 1, 7B, 1, 2, and 3, 7C, 1 and 2, 7D, 7E, 7F, and 7G?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussions or questions? I just want to clarify, these nutritional standards are just, this is federal, something we just have to do.
State and federal, national standards for food. We do that, and we are required to have the board pass the standard, I actually have to submit that the board passed it on such and such.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions or comments? All right, Ms. Tefelsky, please call the vote.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Informational items.
Real quick, Thanksgiving break is all next week. The offices will be closed unless there's appointments that are needed. And then we have the holiday break coming up on December 23rd. January 6th, again, offices closed unless appointments are made. Those are just reminders. Weather's changing as we see today. So start having our kids dressed in layers and also have your plans ready in case we have to do an early dismissal, a closure, or a late start, so that, and make sure our students know. We've already covered the high school had the largest Veterans Day ceremony. December is a time for some of our high school students to take their end of course test, graduation. FAFSA was scheduled to open December 1st, but I was talking to an audience member, it's open now.
It
So that's
just
really
did.
important to know for any senior that wants to become, or wants to attend college, they need to do the FAFSA, get on it, start on it. Because I know you're waiting to see those financial packages to determine what school you're going to. Otherwise, have a great, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. All right, items from board members. Again, we just want to kind of follow up on the brief conversation we had in the work session on the composition of this committee, committee to review and revise communication and technology policies. At that work session, it was suggested that we have 2 board members. We actually can't have more than 2 board members because of the way board committees function legally. Mr. Malone, obviously our policy guy, Ms. Hansel, our communications person, and then 1 or 2 building administrators was suggested, and then 1 or 2 TEA reps and 1 or 2 TCSA reps. I have heard, thank you, Dr. Thoreau, we do have the 2 TCSA reps that have agreed to join that committee. The question that we came out with after that meeting, though, was whether or not to have community members on that committee. Again, we're reviewing our in-house policies and communications, and I can see arguments on both sides for including community members to bring in a different viewpoint, or not having them because we are doing in-house policies. So I just kind of want to get some sense to have that conversation now about how you feel, my colleagues, how you feel about having community members on it.
I think it would be a benefit to have a community member
You
on
think
there.
it would-
Someone that with a specialty in communications.
Yeah,
With a specialty in
especially if someone
communications.
had that kind of background, that could be super beneficial.
That would be. So we can kind of ask around if you know somebody who's got that kind of background. We can certainly reach out to them. Does that sound like a reasonable ask?
Sure.
Chris and Pat? Okay. I think that also kind of bridges that, what I was talking about, are the pros and cons, you know, that we bring in a different perspective, someone who's outside of our system, but we also make sure that's somebody who actually has a background in communication. I think that's a good kind of balance for that. Thank you.
And I wanted to make sure, now, if this committee comes up with policy recommendations, these will have to be approved by Neola. Is that correct?
Correct. So, and that's part of having Mr. Malone as part of it. I think it's also, the picture itself has changed because of this new Neola dump. A lot of these new policies are about communications and redefining, clarifying. So it may be that some of the concerns that we would have had, that the committee would have brought up previously might now be resolved.
Addressed, right.
Yeah, but there also might be other things that we still want to have addressed. So yes, we would not approve anything or suggest anything for approval unless we run it by Neola to make sure that nothing we suggest or propose in any way violates any federal law, state law, policy, anything like that. So yes, we are not just going to unilaterally, as a committee, make changes. It's discussing, going over these policies and seeing where we need to address certain things.
And that will be what they're just focusing on policy. That will be the committee's
On our
charge.
policies, our current policies that we have in place.
Right.
Right. Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. Again, please get back to me if you know anybody who's got a background in communications who might be a good person to bring on to this. Any other items? Any other board members have any other items?
I was just going to bring up, I did hear that the state of Ohio instated women's wrestling. I didn't know that Talawanda, I guess, we don't recognize it potentially, what Mr. LeMay was saying. Is that something, if we're not recognizing that sport and we could support it, could we start doing that? I'm glad that it sounds like Jake is very much, on board with that and helping, but that's the first I heard of that. I was like, oh my gosh.
I will talk with Jake.
Okay.
And
I
know
just
the
was.
girls can join, and they are part of the team.
So why would we add that sport with a complement of two when we had so many people that were interested in field hockey and not add that back?
I know, Chris, I just don't know that.
All right.
And I think that's part of the question, because I also was not aware that this was, I had kind of heard a little bit about it, inklings a little while ago, but again, I think, and the field hockey question is pertinent. My understanding is the field hockey challenge had to do with the league and whether or not there were enough other teams in the league.
I think they couldn't field a schedule.
Yeah, they couldn't get a schedule within the league. So again, I don't know if that would be a problem with wrestling, or if that kind of exists in a different space, that wouldn't necessarily be the problem. Again, these are all questions for Jake too, but it's good to bring that up, to look into it. Any other things from board members?
I did attend the OSBA conference in Columbus as our representative to the delegate assembly, but I'll wait till December to give my report on all the things. We've had enough for tonight. And all the other things I want to say, I won't say.
All right, thank you for that.
I was able to attend the middle school donkey basketball game this year.
I went last year. It was so much fun.
Special thanks to all those people that organized it and did it and to participated, and the middle school team did us proud, that's for sure. Thank you.
Who won?
I don't know.
It's kind of chaos, I got to tell you.
It was a little chaotic. Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, it was suggested to me last year that the board should have a team, and I said, I don't do donkeys. I'm sorry. It's not the getting on them, it's the getting up off of the floor after I've fallen off of them. So thank you for attending that. All right, our next board event is December 19th here.
One thing, at December 19th, we're going to have to pick
Right.
the first 15 days, which isn't a problem. I have it on the agenda. We also have to pick
President Pro Tem.
president that will start.
All right, thank you for that reminder. So we should also probably start thinking about what dates in January are or are not good. And it has to happen before, it's like the 15th or something?
15th.
Yeah, so, all right, so put that on your radar. Do I have anything else? All right, thank you all for your patience this evening. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
You pick somebody.
I already did.
Okay. Discussion, questions? Ms. Tefelsky, please call the vote.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Dr. Howard?
Yes. Thank you all. I just want to say.